My mother-in-law locked me in the bathroom during my labor to prevent me from stealing attention from my sister-in-law's wedding. But now, she will be the one locked away. My husband, Rick, who is 30, and I, 29, were blessed with a daughter 2 weeks ago. She is our first child, and we are both very excited. We've been busy adjusting to parenthood, which is a challenging change for both of us, but we're doing the best we can. We don't have much help, mostly due to an incident that happened on the day our daughter May was born. That day was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. Not even the joy of May's arrival has been enough to shake off the paralyzing fear I felt that day. I truly believe that if it wasn't for my husband's timely help, I wouldn't have made it through. Despite the horrible event, I feel like, since it involved family, we should be a bit more forgiving. After all, May is the first grandchild in the family. However, I'm not sure. My judgment is clouded by hormones and the demands of taking care of a newborn. So that's why I'm here on Reddit asking for advice. This story might be long and involves several family members, so please be patient. Rick has 2 younger sisters, Anna, 28, and Emma, 24. I have a good relationship with both of them, and there's no animosity between us. We're not extremely close since we're all busy with our careers and don't see each other often. Emma doesn't even live in the same city as us, but we try to keep in touch occasionally through messages or calls. Another key family member in this story is Rick's mother, Rachel, 53. While I get along fairly well with Anna and Emma, my relationship with Rachel is another story. We don't agree on many things, and I honestly believe she has issues not just with me but with everyone around her. She's a control freak and wants everyone to follow her wishes to the letter. If things don't go according to her plans, she goes crazy. Rick and his sisters respect her wishes to some extent, mostly because she raised them on her own after their father abandoned them. So, they try to make things easier for her and themselves. When someone dares to want something different than what she wants, her reaction can range from disapproval and sadness to a full-on meltdown with tears and tantrums. It's hard to handle, so I try to stay away as much as possible. Rick understands this and knows his mother can be difficult, so he lets me handle her my way. I also understand his perspective on her, so we leave things as they are. She doesn't particularly like me, and I don't interfere in her life, which is best for everyone involved. However, things escalated dramatically a few days ago, all because of her actions. And now I don't think anyone can forgive her. The day May was born, Anna was getting married. It was a beautiful ceremony, and her husband Jonah, 30, is actually a friend of Rick's. Jonah proposed to Anna about a year ago, and Anna asked me to be one of her bridesmaids, which I accepted at first. However, when Rick and I found out I was pregnant, I had to ask Anna to replace me as a bridesmaid because I knew I wouldn't be able to fulfill the role. This happened about 6 months after Jonah's proposal, or 6 months before the wedding, when I was already 3 months pregnant. I anticipated some negative reaction for backing out halfway, but I knew I had to prioritize my health. I was incredibly nervous and anxious before telling her, fearing that our relationship might be affected. To my relief and surprise, Anna was thrilled when I told her I was pregnant. For a moment, she forgot about her wedding, and when I mentioned that I couldn't fulfill my bridesmaid duties, her immediate response was, "Of course, I'll take care of you." She even considered rescheduling the wedding so I wouldn't miss it. Although that didn't happen, and it wouldn't have been fair to her anyway, she completely supported me. Emma took on the role of bridesmaid, and the sisters were busy with wedding preparations, so I tried not to bother them too much. Even though they kept in touch and offered me as much support as possible during my difficult pregnancy, I feel a bit guilty for not being there for Anna on the most important day of her life, but she supported me unconditionally. The only person upset about all this was my mother-in-law. I think it bothered her that I couldn't be a bridesmaid anymore, which caused some small changes in the wedding plans. I understood her perspective and didn't blame her for it, but even after Anna accepted my situation, Rachel's hostility toward me continued. Even though Anna, the bride, wasn't upset at all, Rachel somehow made me the villain from that point on. It was confusing, and at first I assumed it was just my hormonal tension or the stress of the wedding that was creating this impression. So, I did my best to ignore it, and things mostly stayed stable. However, during the wedding, everything went out of control, literally and figuratively. 2 weeks ago, I was very pregnant. My feet were swollen, my belly was huge, and I felt like I might faint. Still, I wanted to attend the wedding because Anna wanted me there. I had asked her beforehand if she wanted me to be at the wedding, since I didn't want to steal her spotlight. I told her that a pregnant woman's presence could distract from the focus, and I didn't want that. Wedding days are for the bride and groom, and I would hate to be the one to divert attention. When I mentioned this to Anna, she was actually offended and hurt. She said she couldn't believe I was filling my head with nonsense and that I wouldn't attend her wedding. Anna insisted that she didn't care about the attention or the spotlight. All she wanted was for her family to be there to see her get married. She made it clear that I had to go and assured me there would be no drama. I knew she meant it. Anna isn't one to beat around the bush. If she didn't want me there, she would have told me directly. Since she really wanted me there, I felt it was my duty to be present for her, despite my discomfort. I knew I had to be there on her special day. I'm not going to lie. I heard some murmurs from a few people, but I did my best to ignore them. Anna was happy that I was there. And at that moment, that was the only thing that mattered to me. Rachel, my mother-in-law, didn't interact much with me. She just threw disapproving glances my way throughout the ceremony. I was too uncomfortable to care about her passive-aggressive attitude, so I let it slide. She could look at me with hatred all she wanted, but I wasn't going to react. Then the main incident occurred. I started feeling unwell just before the ceremony began. By that point, I had already greeted Anna. I stood up and went upstairs, thinking some movement might make me feel better, planning to return when I felt okay. What I didn't know was that Rachel had followed me. I felt hot and strange, so I went to the bathroom. Suddenly, my water broke. It was like an actual flood, and I started to panic. Even though I love my daughter more than anything, I had chosen the worst possible moment to go into labor. I couldn't think clearly. Luckily, I saw my mother-in-law nearby, crouching from the pain, and she ran to me. I asked her to take my phone and call Rick immediately because I needed to go to the hospital. Rachel helped me sit on the toilet, and I handed her my phone. That's when everything changed. She suddenly became cold and told me she would make sure Rick arrived in an hour, after the ceremony was over, because she didn't want me to stop him from being at the wedding. I asked her if she was crazy, explaining that there was no way I could wait an hour in this state. I tried to grab my phone back, but she locked me in the bathroom and left with it. This bathroom had a door with a lock, and she had the key. Not the kind of public bathroom that can only be locked from the inside. There I was, very pregnant, in labor, stuck in a bathroom without my phone and without my husband. I don't know how I didn't have a full panic attack. If I had, I can't imagine what could have happened. Finally, I stood up, walked to the door, and started banging on it, shouting as loud as I could. Since the bathrooms were on the first floor and everyone was already seated for the wedding, no one heard me. I screamed until I lost my voice. But still, no one came. In that moment, I truly felt like I was going to die and that my baby would die with me. I was exhausted, soaked, and sweating heavily, and my voice had faded away. That's the last thing I remember before passing out from exhaustion. I don't remember how I got to the hospital or anything that happened afterward. I only know that I woke up a few hours later with Rick by my side, crying. It took me a moment to realize where I was and process everything. When I saw Rick crying, I assumed the worst. The memories of Rachel locking me in came flooding back, and I felt a knot in my stomach, not knowing what had happened. Then I saw a nurse come in with a baby in her arms, and I finally felt a wave of relief. Honestly, I wanted to slap Rick for scaring me, but he hadn't done it intentionally. He was just relieved I was okay since he had found me unconscious in the bathroom. Holding my daughter for the first time was the deepest feeling I've ever experienced, something I believe nothing will ever top. At that moment, Rick didn't give me any details about what had happened, and I'm grateful for that. I didn't have the energy to deal with it. I could vaguely hear some commotion outside the room, so I asked Rick what was going on. He explained that his mother was outside and wanted to see her granddaughter. I told him everything, how she had locked me in the bathroom, refused to call him, and put our daughter's life in danger for no reason. I told him I wouldn't let her near our daughter, ever. To me, she was dead. Rick said he already knew everything when he found me in that state. Rachel had collapsed and confessed everything, but I told him that her confession didn't mean I could forgive her. He laughed and said that for him, his mother was dead from that moment on. He was determined to press charges for endangering my life. He wanted to take legal action to ensure she paid for her actions. When Rick said he would press charges, I felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. I know he loves his mother, and he and his sisters have always respected her for raising them on her own. Maybe I didn't expect him to stand so firmly on my side, but I'm not complaining at all. In fact, it made me love him even more, if that's possible. I asked Rick how the wedding went, and he said everything went well. Emma and Anna were waiting for his call to come visit us. I asked if Anna was angry, and he laughed, saying I didn't have to worry at all. Anna was beaming with pride and joy, saying her family was complete at the wedding and that May's birth was the best gift she could have received. I was filled with tears when he told me this, and I asked him to call them right away. Within minutes, Anna, Emma, and Jonah were at the hospital. The best part was that Anna and Jonah were still wearing their wedding clothes, and Anna announced she wouldn't miss the chance to take a wedding photo with her niece. I started crying. It was such an emotional moment. After the photo, I apologized to Anna for ruining her day, but she hugged me and told me I was wrong, that I had made her day better. I then told Anna about Rachel's behavior since we announced the pregnancy. Anna responded that my only mistake was not telling them earlier. They could have stopped her drama. I explained that I didn't want to cause trouble, but Emma intervened, saying any problem is worth it as long as you are safe. Writing this, my eyes fill with tears because at that moment, I realized they really wanted me as one of the family. I wasn't just Rick's wife to them. I was truly part of the family. Anna is one of the best people I know. She's strong, kind, and so generous. I'm not surprised she's where she is today. I still don't understand how Rachel ended up so different from her children. It's as if they saw her behavior and decided that wasn't the path they wanted to follow. It's strange, but I don't care. It was a beautiful moment. Rachel was still outside the hospital room. Apparently, Anna had told her that she would make sure Rick and I introduced her to May, but I didn't want her anywhere near us. Anna supported me, insisting that we needed to protect ourselves from her. She apologized, feeling guilty because she might not have been clear enough with her mother about not having any issue with my pregnancy. Anna said that if she had been clearer, maybe the incident could have been avoided. She also informed Rachel that she would never be allowed to be a part of May's life, and that she was no longer her grandmother in any meaningful way after what she had done. She explained that endangering my life and May's just to control the wedding was unacceptable. She also told her that the financial support she had been receiving from her and Emma would be significantly reduced to zero. Rachel cried, saying she had worked her whole life for them and didn't deserve this. Rick responded that, while he appreciated everything she had done, that didn't give her the right to control their lives. He admitted that he had been making excuses for her behavior for years, but that this incident had crossed a line. Rachel tried to justify her actions, claiming that as a mother, she believed Anna didn't want me there to steal the spotlight. Anna heard this and replied that it was nonsense. So we moved forward with the case. Rick is handling everything since I need to focus on caring for our newborn and keeping away from this constant drama. Neither of the sisters is willing to talk to her. Anna has completely cut her off, and Emma only communicates with her when absolutely necessary. Rick and I obviously maintain zero contact with her. I don't think Rachel anticipated this level of backlash. Perhaps she truly thought she was protecting Anna in some twisted way. I'm not defending her in the slightest, but if I try to understand how this woman thinks, it's the only explanation I can find. Still, it remains incomprehensible. In any case, she's earned all of this, and it's time for her to enjoy the consequences of being a horrible mother and mother-in-law to everyone. Update 1. Any reconciliation is off the table forever, even though it was practically impossible before. I know I haven't updated in a long time, but, well, I'm a new mom, so between keeping myself and my baby alive, I've been busy. The good news is that May will be 8 weeks old in a few days, and we are all very excited. Anna and Jonah have been incredibly kind, helping Rick and me a lot. Emma had to go back to work, but she calls almost every day. May is literally the light of everyone's eyes. They adore her, and the family chat is full of pictures of her. We haven't had any contact with my mother-in-law, especially because I've filed charges against her, and we were advised to maintain no contact to avoid escalating the situation further. But this woman is genuinely unbalanced, and last week she showed her true face. Last week, Rick and I woke up around 1 a.m. to loud banging on the door. I thought it was a robbery and ran to hide with May while Rick went to open the door. I could hear shouting, but I didn't dare to go out because I didn't want to wake May. It turned out to be my mother-in-law, and Rick said she was acting completely out of control. She kept shouting that she wanted to see May and that we couldn't keep her away. Rick said he had to threaten to call the police before she backed off, as she was trying to force her way in. We immediately alerted Anna and Emma because if anything happened to her, everyone needed to know. We were worried, but honestly, it was in vain. The next day, she sent us a disturbing message. She started by saying that we were being cruel and horrible by not letting her see May, and that we were punishing her for the crime of being a mother. There were more melodramatic nonsense, and slowly, her messages became more unhinged. She said she carried the burden of raising 3 children and always had to balance everyone's priorities, which she felt she had to do on the day May was born. She didn't want May to steal the spotlight from Anna, conveniently forgetting that May hadn't even been born yet, and that Anna herself had said several times that she didn't mind if the pregnancy and the wedding happened at the same time. Up until this point, she didn't seem totally crazy. What stunned me was what she said next. She admitted that she was worried that with May in our lives, she wouldn't be as important to her children anymore. When I announced my pregnancy, she thought Anna would be angry, because that's what a normal woman would feel. But when she saw that we were all excited about both the pregnancy and the wedding, she didn't like it. Basically, she was saying that she didn't like that we were all happy together and supporting each other. She wanted us to feel jealous and compete with each other. She even said that when she realized the due date would be close to the wedding, she expected Anna to be angry with us, and maybe May wouldn't steal all the attention. But that didn't happen, and everyone was talking about May. She said she felt disrespected because a baby who hadn't even been born yet had stolen her place as the unifying factor among the siblings. She kept writing and didn't stop, so I asked Rick to block her. I told him she was unbalanced and dangerous to May and to all of us. I've had a constant headache since I saw those messages. I can't believe a woman over 50 is competing with a baby who's only a few weeks old. It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't have to make sense of it because I'm done with her. I've stopped making excuses for her behavior and trying to understand her motivations. She can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. She can do whatever she wants. We forwarded the messages to Anna and Emma, and they're disturbed too. They think she might be having a manic episode, and Emma even said she would fly here to have her admitted to a clinic. I think it's a good idea, but I'll stay out of it. This behavior goes beyond reason, and I don't want anything to do with her ever again. Update 2. We now have a restraining order against my mother-in-law because the justice system has failed us, and the complaint we filed against her hasn't led to any consequences. I'm not surprised because the justice system in my country is not exactly known for being fair. I haven't tried anything else, but we are being cautious. Emma arranged for my mother-in-law to undergo testing and spoke with both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The results came back normal. She was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, but that was all. The doctor confirmed that there was no underlying medical reason for her behavior and suggested that Emma take her to therapy. After this, Emma decided to cut all contact. She said she would have been willing to help if there had been a real problem, but if the malice is just part of her mother's personality, she can't tolerate it. I completely understand and share her opinion. Maybe I would have had some sympathy and support in a few months if a psychiatric issue had been diagnosed, but now that this is ruled out, we know this is simply her character. There is no way to reconcile with that. For this reason, we've taken out a restraining order for Rick, May, and me. Our safety is our top priority, and my mother-in-law has proven twice that she is not safe to be around. Furthermore, her specific animosity toward May means we need to be even more vigilant to ensure that they don't come into contact. I think this will be my last update, and I hope there is nothing else to report. This whole ordeal has been a heartbreaking experience for our family, and I'm grateful that we are all safe. Thanks to everyone who followed this story and offered us their support. Update 3. It's always good to seek a second opinion. One would think that between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, a professional evaluation would be accurate. But I'm starting to doubt that assessment, or maybe I just want to believe they were wrong. Because if my mother-in-law really is okay, then the water doesn't wet, because there's no other logical explanation for her behavior. Even though the diagnoses say there are no deep mental health issues, her actions tell a completely different story. Despite supposedly being fine, my mother-in-law keeps doing crazy things that deserve her being locked up and someone throwing away the key. Don't worry, this time nothing happened to my daughter, but what happened involved Emma. I want to share it because I know many of you were concerned about my mother-in-law's behavior and wondering how far she could go. Well, here's the answer. As you know, Emma lives in another city, and one would think that the distance would help avoid my mother-in-law's constant interference. But that didn't stop her from taking a surprise trip and showing up at Emma's house at 3 a.m. Compared to the time she appeared at our door, it seems like she's getting later each time. Of course, Emma was scared. Imagine being in her position, home alone in the middle of the night, and suddenly hearing persistent knocking at the door, only to find your mother, who not only traveled without warning but also arrived visibly drunk. As far as I know, Emma is currently single, but that didn't stop my mother-in-law from showing up in the middle of the night with a noticeable alcohol breath to tell her she wanted her to have a child. And not for the usual maternal reasons, no. What she wanted was for Emma to have a baby to overshadow my daughter. Yes, that's right. My mother-in-law is obsessed with having a woman in the family have another daughter so that she can compete with May and, in her words, stop being the center of attention. But it didn't end there. She added that this would also create competition with Anna, who, as far as we all know, has no plans to have children anytime soon. So, for my mother-in-law, the best solution would be for Emma to have a child as a sort of rival for May, and in the process, sow discord between the sisters. The twisted nature of all this leaves me speechless. Her goal is nothing more than to create enmity and rivalry among all of us, with the absurd idea that this would make her the unifying factor of the family. I think she hasn't gotten the memo that a family doesn't need an external cause to stay united. All it needs are healthy, strong bonds, something she either doesn't understand or simply doesn't care about. Despite everything, Emma was incredibly generous. She allowed her to stay overnight, mostly because she wasn't going to let her mother return to her city in that state. Moreover, she has decided to seek a consultation with a professional in her larger city, hoping to find someone with a different approach who can help understand what is really going on with her. Emma's idea is that in a place with more specialists, she might get a more precise diagnosis, or at least an idea of what's driving this irrational and harmful behavior. The family has come together more than ever, which is ironic in its rejection of these behaviors and in the decision to maintain firm boundaries. When I know more about my mother-in-law, I'll keep you all updated. Update 4. Well, now we have a clear diagnosis. My mother-in-law has borderline personality disorder. This brings some clarity, but we also know how difficult all of this will be. The news explains many of her chaotic and extreme behaviors. Rachel will temporarily stay with Emma to receive treatment, and it's even possible that she may be hospitalized for a while so that specialists can observe her progress and adjust the therapeutic approach as needed. They're talking about a combination of medication and therapy, which could help stabilize her emotions and hopefully teach her healthier ways of relating to others. I can't say my mother-in-law is particularly happy about this, but if she truly wants to heal and improve her family relationships, this seems to be her only path. Emma has taken on the role of support, which is admirable considering everything that has happened, while Anna has taken a step back. I haven't spoken with Emma and Anna specifically about how they plan to manage their relationship with Rachel if she improves, but I understand that their support is more of a sense of responsibility than immediate acceptance on our part. Although any future improvement in her health is positive, the damage and risks she's caused are hard to forget. The threats toward May and her dangerous behavior, such as driving while intoxicated, are more than enough reason to keep her out of our lives. It's not just a matter of forgiveness or reconciliation, it's a matter of safety for my daughter and our family as a whole. As for Rick and me, we're convinced that, no matter how far her treatment progresses, maintaining distance is the best option.